U.S. President Donald Trump met with Chinese President Xi Jinping recently. During a special report at the Legislative Yuan, Minister of Foreign Affairs officials confirmed that the U.S. has already shared details of the meeting with Taiwan, and Taiwan was only briefly mentioned during the meeting, with Trump referencing the Taiwan Relations Act to Xi.
While addressing lawmakers on the 12th, Foreign Affairs Vice Minister Leo Lee said the U.S. has already briefed Taiwan on the meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. According to the National Security Bureau, China will pressure the U.S. to alter or delay announcing its next arms sale package to Taiwan. On the 11th, Trump tweeted, "North Korea is looking for trouble. If China decides to help, that would be great. If not, we will solve the problem without them. USA." Trump later said he told Xi it would benefit bilateral trade if China solves the North Korean problem. Asked about this year's World Health Assembly, a ministry official admitted Taiwan has not yet received an invitation and said the ministry is working every connection it has to get an invitation.
The highly anticipated China-Xi meeting ended with fruitful progress, as they claimed, but without citing many tangible breakthroughs. There were no trade or investment deals announced, no agreement to contain North Korea, no plans stitched together to reduce tensions in the South China Sea. In tone and results, the summit was similar to a 2013 meeting between Xi and President Barack Obama in California, which also produced little in terms of concrete announcements. Many believe that the biggest achievement this time is that it serves as an opportunity for the leaders to get to know each other and set a future meeting for dialogues.
The Trump and Xi summit, I think, basically set up for a purpose. For the two leaders to know each other, of course, that's very important, but also set a tone for future relations. But more importantly, we know there are important issues like North Korea and also the bilateral trade issues between U.S. and China that cause a lot of frictions. But personally, I think the U.S. and China has three dialogue going on for the past decades. And now, if we don't have the Xi and Trump's meeting, then those dialogue mechanisms, whether you can continue with those, is in question.
Sooner or later, the leaders from two most powerful countries in the world will have some rather difficult topics to tackle. Here are three of the biggest to discuss, and here's what's at stake. North Korea clearly is a matter of urgent interest for the president and the administration as a whole. The statement is likely to carry even more weight given the U.S. missile strike in Syria just days before Xi's arrival. Arguably, China is best positioned to pressure dictator Kim Jong-un's regime, but there was no agreement to resolve tensions with North Korea, although she admitted that the situation in North Korea has reached a very serious stage. Trump has made his impatience apparent, however, and maybe time will come when China has to decide either to help the United States with North Korea issue or not.
If North Korean nuclear development issue cannot be solved this time, and maybe cannot be solved in the next few days. I think such an issue will be on the table in their next summit. BIT, U.S.-China bilateral investment issue may be on the table, and even could be prepared for the signature of both leaders. And last but not least is that South China Sea issue may be arisen next time because U.S. has dispatched its fleet to South China Sea after the U.S.-South Korea annual joint drills in Huanghai, and next time they will be dispatched to South China Sea again. So this could be some controversial issue or disputes over the issue of sovereignty next time.
On the other hand, China's leaders, in fact, have long been concerned about the U.S. trade deficit with their country. $347 billion in 2016, to be exact. However, both leaders seem to choose not to bring up these topics that were supposed to dominate the summit. As they have agreed on a 100-day plan without many details, trade is an obvious point and an important item in the leaders' next meeting. As with trade, the Trump administration has sometimes sent mixed signals when addressing maritime disputes in the South China Sea, where China has been gradually increasing its presence. Many believe it's time for the U.S. to send China a clear signal that first, the island building has to stop and the access to those islands should not be allowed. Still, what is noteworthy is that both leaders chose to steer clear in their public remarks of issues about Taiwan and One China policy. Many worry that this ambiguity only serves to lengthen the uncertainty, while the expert we interviewed thought this might not be a bad thing for Taiwan.
I think, we have been in the center of the U.S. and China relations for quite a while. And now other issues are taking precedent over Taiwan, like North Korea or the U.S.-China trade issues. So we are no longer on the top of the priority list, which is not necessarily bad for Taiwan because we can continue to develop our relations separately with the United States. But of course, I think we should also, try to improve the cross-strait ties.
Despite being a vocal China basher on the campaign trail, Trump was the quickest among all American presidents to meet in person with the Chinese leader. For Xi, a lot of success came from just showing up in the United States, not to mention the summit was held at Trump's personal property instead of the White House, which sets the tone that Trump was eager to host the Chinese president. So what does a Trump victory look like? We can expect that Xi will announce Chinese plans to invest in the United States, but this concession is more PR move than an actual boost for the United States economy. Investment in some sectors, particularly real estate, a Chinese favorite, actually drives up asset prices instead of building productivity, and it won't necessarily shrink the trade deficit. This summit serves as Trump's first major foreign policy challenge. What will be worth watching is whether he settles for short-term concessions that make for good sound bites or tries to play the long game by prioritizing keeping China content and Asia stable.